Hello people of the internet. I am back making more videos. This is the third video since I've started uploading again, and it is going to be slightly different to the previous two. This is not necessarily going to be a top 5 list as much as it does stay in the lines of a top 5 list. I'll be explaining the 5 special threats of Yhwach in the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War. I will try and go over each one of them in depth, and I am going to talk about them a day. Enjoy! The very first person we will be talking about today is probably the member of the list with the least amount of information on them. Probably it will be Ichibe Hyosube, the leader of Squad Zero and the Royal Guard. Now, while a lot of Ichibe's past is a mystery, what we do know about him is that he is the oldest Soul Reaper alive. He was the first to attain Bankai, to the point where it wasn't even called Bankai when he attained it. He is also the source of all names in the universe, such being his power to change names, create names, and remove names completely, with his Zanpakuto. Ichibe's weapon is called Ichimonji. It has the ability to control names and the colour black, essentially turning all black in the world into Ichibe's power. And when splashing you with his black ink, he has the ability to remove your name completely. And when activating his Bankai, Shirafude Ichimonji, he has the ability to rename anything that has been painted black by his Shikai. Giving it a new name also gives it the abilities of the thing he has named, such as when he's fighting Yhwach, he changes his name from Yhwach to Black Ant, making him as powerful as a black ant. Now, when Ichibe comes across as a relatively goofy guy, he's incredibly cruel and dangerous. He leads Squad Zero with essentially an iron fist, and is by far the most powerful Soul Reaper we saw when he was first introduced. Not just because of his abilities, but because of the reason, actually, that he is a special threat, his wisdom. He's been around so incredibly long that Yhwach considers him a special threat because of how long he's been around and how much information he's gathered. Yes, he's also got the omnipotent power to be able to control things like names and the colour black, but the sheer amount of knowledge he has is why Yhwach picks him. The next member of Yhwach's special threat list is no surprise to anyone. It is Sosuke Aizen. Now, Aizen is a special threat for the reason everybody knows. He's incredibly intelligent, he's incredibly manipulative, and he's incredibly powerful. Aizen battles with illusion. He battles with Kyoku Suigetsu, the ability to control all 5 senses. But that isn't the specific reason Yhwach chose him as a special threat. He chose him for his bottomless amount of spiritual energy. He has an insane amount of it, not just because he's fused with the Hogyoku, but that does help. He's always had such a thing. But fusing with the Hogyoku increased it great amount and basically made him completely immortal. Now, we've seen a lot from Aizen, except of course his Bankai, but we have been told recently that Aizen's Bankai does manipulate time itself, and he did use it on Yhwach when they had the conversation in the Muken. Now, when Yhwach actually fought Aizen at the end of Bleach, he was a very difficult opponent, and honestly the only reason they won was because of Aizen distracting Yhwach with Kyoku Suigetsu. So, as previously stated, Aizen makes Yhwach's list because of his bottomless spiritual pressure, which allows him to create illusions for a long time, use insanely powerful Kido. Hell, he can even kill people with his spiritual pressure alone. The next person to make the Quincy King's special threat list is Kenpachi Zaraki, captain of Squad 11, and by far physically one of the most powerful characters in Bleach. There's not much I can say about Kenpachi that hasn't already been said. He's an absolute monster, a beast in combat, which is why he is one of Yhwach's special threats, for specifically his fighting strength. His ability to constantly adapt and grow stronger as he gets stronger opponents to fight, which is the entire point of the 1000-Year Blood War when he trains with Unohana. One of the best examples of this is when Kenpachi helps fight Gerard Valkyrie in the 1000-Year Blood War. After realising he's not strong enough, he gets knocked down by Gerard, and he finally achieves Bankai in a very unconventional way. He's given it by Yachiru, who at this point we find out is his Zanpakuto spirit, and he achieves Bankai instantaneously just by fighting someone incredibly powerful. Now, I don't think Yuha could have made a finer choice than Kenpachi for his list of special threats. Because yes, while he's not the first Kenpachi, he's not even the second or the third. It's a title passed down for the strongest of that generation, and no one has been more fitting of that name than Kenpachi of Zaraki. The next member of Yuha's 5 special threats is my personal favourite character in Bleach, Kisuke Urahara. Now, why everyone else on this list is considered a top tier in the verse, Kisuke isn't. He's very powerful, but he's not considered a top tier of power. He makes the list because of how unpredictable and intelligent he actually is. By far, he is the smartest person in all of Bleach, so Yuha puts him above everyone on the list because of his unmatched intellect, his resourcefulness, and the ability to devise a foolproof plan that the Quincy's cannot truly plan against. Kisuke is another character that comes off incredibly goofy and light-hearted when we meet him, and throughout most of the story he does crack jokes and pull funny faces and make sure everyone's okay. But when stuff gets really serious, he gets really serious. At the start of Bleach, all we see from Kisuke is that he's a humble shop owner who helps Rukia and Ichigo out, selling them soul candy and different things to help fight hollows. But later on we find out he is actually a former captain of the 13 Cork Guard squads and was banished for holifying other captains, which obviously we found out Aizen tricked everyone into thinking Kisuke did. Now, while Kisuke has created a lot of interesting contraptions, like the portable gi guy where he pops out of a bubble, and we showed that in his fight against Yami, the best thing he ever created was definitely the Hogyoku, which Aizen saw, stole, researched, eventually developed his own, of course, but the Hogyoku being created by Urahara, I think, is probably what made Yuha put him on his list in the first place, obviously outside of his unpredictability. But if anyone deserves to be on this list for intelligence alone, it's definitely Urahara. And the final member of the 5 special threat list is our main character, Ichigo Kurosaki. Like I said about Aizen, there's not much I can say that you don't already know about Ichigo. He's the main character. We follow his entire journey from developing his Soul Reaper powers up until he loses them, till he gains them back, and all the way to the very end of his story in the 1000-Year Blood War. With all that, there's not a lot of new stuff I can say about Ichigo, but one thing I can say is, out of every anime I've seen, he has to be my favourite MC. For the fact of, you get characters like Naruto and Luffy who have these big aspirations and big dreams. Ichigo does too, but in a very different way. Ichigo becomes so powerful, he becomes so resourceful, all for the simple fact of keeping all of his friends safe. And in the end, the 3 worlds safe. He's got no ambition outside of that, he just wants to live a normal life and keep everyone he cares about safe. Now, this might sound like a boring goal for a character, but I think it shows that Ichigo is incredibly mature as a person. Not to discredit Luffy and Naruto as characters, they're both very good, but Ichigo is very different in terms of it. He's very grown up. All that being said, we'll go back to the point of the list. Yuha puts Ichigo on his list of special threats because of his latent ability. He's very unpredictable in the fact of he's part Soul Reaper, part Hollow, part Quincy, and part human. He's a mix of all the different races, so his latent potential is insane. And in fact, we do get to see it in the 1000-Year Blood War. Once Ichigo comes to terms with all the different parts of him and unlocks his true Zanpakuto, he is more powerful than Yuha in the base senses of he's got more strength, he's most likely faster, he's got a lot more power. We see it in the fact he does kill Yuha when activating his Bankai and the Horn of Salvation. Obviously, with the almighty, Yuha undoes it, but he's right to put him on a list of special threats because he proves it. He is strong enough to kill him. That being said, I think it's about time I draw the video to a close. I've gone over each member of the 5 special threats. Now, I would like to say there's a couple characters I believe should be considered special threats if one of these characters were to be removed. Obviously, there was the former head captain, Yamamoto, who Yuha said he didn't put on the list because he grew weak. Personally, I think that was Yuha being a little bit biased. There could be Shunsui for his ability to go to any ends to win a fight. He doesn't care who he has to side with. And there's a few other characters that could be bounced around in there as well. But I do hope you all enjoyed the video. I apologise if it's a bit sporadic and all over the place. I wasn't well when I started making the video, and obviously a day or two later I've come back to it. I'm feeling a bit better. But I hope you all enjoyed it. That is all I've got to say, and then I will try and get another one out next week. Goodbye everybody.